Welcome to the Voice Boxes podcast with vocal coach Nettie Rose and speech pathologist Jennifer Kellams, where they discuss the mysterious world of vocal health and encouragement for anyone who uses their voice.
Hi, and welcome to the Voice Boxes. I'm Nettie Rose.
And I'm Jennifer Kellams.
And today we have an interesting subject. We're going to talk about a couple of questions that were asked. There's a difference between neurological issues in the voice and environmental issues in the voice. So we're going to cover a couple of those questions that we just recently had encountered. So let's start with the one that I got recently, if you don't mind.
No, I'm actually fascinated by this.
Yeah, so I was hosting a webinar this past weekend, and one of the people had asked me a question about throat singing and how that actually is developed or how it actually comes to be. And I geeked out in that moment. I lit up and I thought that was a pretty awesome question.
So let's start.
Now, most people...
What is throat singing?
Yes. So most people don't know what throat singing is. And they're like, well, of course you use your throat to sing. But it's a different phenomenon that happens where I'm just going to keep it very elementary, very basic. It's basically producing a pitch and you manipulate the vocal tract and you hear a secondary pitch. So there's actually two pitches being sounded at the same time.
Whoa.
That is throat singing. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Can you do this?
And I actually can do this. It is taxing. It is tiring.
I'm not going to ask you to do it.
I'm not an expert by any way, shape, or form. I can help guide in this capacity. And I've had a student who does throat singing. It's not very common, but it is a very, 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 very cool phenomenon. So I liken it to a guitar when they do the harmonic and they put their finger on the string and then they pluck the string and then you hear it like an octave higher.
Yeah.
You hear this bing kind of thing. It's kind of like that. There is a fundamental note and then there's these other portions where you actually will be able to switch the pitch. And it is one of the most phenomenal things you can do with your voice. And if you go on YouTube and just look up throat singing or Mongolian throat singing, you will find people that actually do this. And it is wild.
Wow.
Wild.
I am blown away. My brain's exploding on like what this actually sounds like. So I'm going to be YouTubing after this episode.
Yes. If I find one of the links that I recently looked at, I will send it to you.
So like crash course, how does one do this? Okay.
Well, it's kind of bizarre. I wasn't entirely prepared to do this, but basically you phonate a pitch, like a hum or like an ohm, and you move your mouth, and it does that kind of like, I'm manipulating the sound right now. It's not actually happening, but it sounds like, you hear that? That's a secondary tone.
Yeah.
You hear it like that, but the other tone is like that.
All at the same time.
It's not, and it's yes, at the same time, and it's very difficult to audibly hear that at times because it is just a manipulation of their tongue and their placement and the making sure that they have a space behind their tongue to where it resonates in order for it to kind of like, and it peaks right over the tongue to come out. That changes that alternate pitch.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's like this overtone.
Yeah. Oh man.
It is so cool.
I imagine, God, I want to like watch some like video stroboscopy. I want to see the vocal folds doing this and the whole airway tract. I want to see this happen. I'm a nerd.
Yeah. I wonder though, here's the thing. I don't know if there's any in existence where they actually put the strobe in and have somebody do throat singing. I don't know, because with that scope there, that might actually inhibit the overtone from ringing.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if that exists out there.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
I don't think so.
Maybe we need some like,
hi.
Hi camera.
Hello, camera.
If you're not on YouTube, Nettie's camera zooms in and out based off of her hands. And sometimes she's
I got too
very
excited.
gestural, and the camera loves her. Awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. And it's so cool you teach that.
It is wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're going to get all these students that are like, well, I want to do that too.
Right?
Yeah.
It is it takes a lot of practice. So there's some people out there that are like masters at it. It's insane.
Yeah.
But let's segue into the difference between environmental effects and neurological. Now, I know you deal with a lot of neurological issues that happen that affect the voice. Can you tell us more about that?
So, the brain controls everything, more than you think of. It controls not only like your upper body, your arms, your hands, but, like I want to grab the pen and thinking, my hand has to go this far and reach down that far and grab with this much tension so every little thing is plotted out. And, people think physical therapy and they think occupational therapy, but they don't really realize how this could affect the muscles that control your voice or your breath support. And that's where speech pathology comes in. After a stroke, you could have, a paralyzed, you have hemiparesis on one side, and that can go all the way down to your vocal cords. So it's
that's scary.
Yeah. And, that's just your brain affecting all of those muscles. And that's when you get a speech therapist involved. And, obviously, I guess that's not obvious. It needs to be visualized. So you can't just go in and be like, I had a stroke and my voice hasn't been the same since. If there's definitely like a breathy or a hoarse vocal quality, it's very possible that it's just breath support, but it could also be because of a stroke. Also, it could be because of intubation, which would not be neurologic. It would be physical. But, if you've had prolonged intubation, that can affect your vocal cord movement because that tube goes right between your vocal cords. So that can cause some trauma. It is, oh my gosh, sidebar. I once had just this like outpatient. I had this just a very minor outpatient procedure, and it's not always the anesthesiologist that does the intubation. It could be like nurses that specialize in anesthesia and all of that. And so I had one of the nurses, and she's like, "Are you comfortable?" And I'm like, yeah. I mean, I'm more worried about the intubation than I am about the actual surgery because I see the worst of things." And she's like, "Don't worry, I've done this 100 times." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I trust you. I'm just, worried about it." And I don't know if my like reptilian brain was like, "No," after I was out, or if she was just like, "I'll show you being worried." I think it was more my reptilian brain. But afterwards, I was like, "God, my throat hurts more than like where I had the surgery." And I'm like, "Why does my throat hurt?" And the intubation had bruised my epiglottis, which is the hangy down thing for people that don't know. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I have a bruised epiglottis."
Aww.
So that's my sidebar about intubation. It did not affect my vocal cords because, if there's not trauma, they're not like shoving it down while you're flipping out or whatever, there shouldn't be an issue. And if, it's a minor surgery, there shouldn't be an issues from that, but there could. And when there is, whether it's neurologic or from the intubation or whatever, you're going to have an ear, nose, and throat doctor, or a speech pathologist, but they need to visualize your vocal cords to see what's going on to make that official diagnosis. And then we can work on adduction exercises. We can work from there. Yeah.
And adduction is when your vocal folds come together, and abduction is when it comes apart for breathing.
Exactly.
So for people who might not know that. So I always do add as in addition, meaning coming together, and ab meaning subtraction, meaning like pulling apart.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Because I'm like, well, I know it for like my clinical terminology, but then like in the gym, I'm like, yes, my adductors need some work. So, yeah. So, that trauma, you can have like that very breathy voice. But it's also going to affect because we know how air goes through the vocal cords. And if the vocal cords aren't vibrating when you're talking, you might only be able to get out maybe 2 seconds worth of voice. And that's because your vocal
Right.
cords aren't adducting the way that they should. And so you just have a big open
Very
hole.
true. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Sad. And that's sad though. It really is.
Mhm.
Like for us, I think it's more scary for those who use our voice and the way that we use it, because if it's altered, it lessens the quality.
Mhm.
So it's not even just, I know some people use their voice on a regular basis, but the quality of voice is not as much of a importance as it is for us who are voice actors or we are singers and whatnot. Any kind of quality issue can cause financial ruin when it comes to what we do,
Exactly.
because we need to rely on our voice. So, but I think in general, it's a scary situation
Oh, absolutely.
for anything to happen to go wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of us, we try not to abuse our voice. We try to have best practices in everything that we do. And, we can, and, we can have those times where you can do everything right and something can just happen. So, appreciate your voice and appreciate what it does for you right now, every single day. Don't take it for granted. And also
Agreed.
treat it well so that it stays with you and it works for you, just like any other part of your body. So,
Right. Any sense you can think about your eyesight, your hearing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So anyway, I covered like all of neurology and speech pathology when it comes to like the medical stuff, not so much the outpatient, but the inpatient stuff. But what are some questions that your students come to you for that they just want to stand out or just be amazing? Like what are some things that they ask you just to like take everything to that next level?
Well, they ask me sometimes what is holding me back from being able to sing like the way I want to sing.
Like
And then
Ariana Grande or
yeah. Well, I think a lot of times they don't realize how fluid the voice needs to work with the breath to be able to actually sustain the sound in a more beautified way. And so I try to get them out of that mindset of speech patterns versus singing patterns, because it's more of a horizontal plane when somebody sings and allowing that exhale, the air to carry everything through. Sometimes it becomes very jagged or inhibited, or they use the musculature just a little bit too intensely for what they need. And they actually inhibit that sound because they're pushing too hard on everything.
Yes.
Instead of allowing the air to pass through more efficiently, they just kind of stifle things. They choke out basically the sound.
Yeah, they create all that tension. Yeah, we get that. We get that a lot with some neurologic patients too, where they're like, I'm just trying to get it out.
Right. Instead of letting it out, there's a difference.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to carry it out.
Yes.
You have to allow it, I liken it to people who play like cello or string instruments. I like the cello, so let's use the cello. But it's that bowing effect where they're actually taking the bow and they're extending it all the way out to the end. And that's that fluidity that allows that sound to really, really carry. And it vibrates that string, and that string is able to carry that sound out. So for us, it's kind of like the same way. Our air is the thing that carries it out, like a wind instrument. That without that air, it won't be able to sustain. And without that sustaining, then you don't have that singing quality that is so,
right.
People admire that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And, it's not just warming up, but it's also that relaxation. So stretching to be relaxed and free and easy. And when you do that, and obviously with training, to kind of expand that range as well, it's amazing what kind of vocal range you can get when you really work for it, you know?
Yeah, and flexibility has a factor,
Mhm.
especially for range.
Mhm.
If you don't exercise the extremities, if you don't try to reach for those, like touching your toes when you bend and touch for your toes, if you don't try, then you're not able to expand. You're not able to go further to increase that flexibility. And you have to do that flexibility with relaxation. You need enough pressure to be able to get it out. It's like the higher notes are higher frequencies and they need more velocity to actually get it out. But we also don't want to over push on that because then it will make it more rigid and therefore not reach those little extremes, especially on the top end. The low end is a little bit different. A lot of times I notice people trying to push really hard and you're already taking the thyroid and the cricoid and it's going in. So it's like this kind of compression aspect. And if you just squeeze on that and push on it really, really hard, then you're causing more tension and more that kind of sound. But if you allow your air just to kind of carry that out, it becomes more hollow and it goes, then you're able to get a low note and sustain it for a longer period of time. So it's about learning how to use your muscles correctly in the throat in order to be able to kind of like lock in without overdoing it.
And that's so much more beautiful to hear, you know, like,
Yeah.
versus I'm going to talk low versus I'm going to talk low.
Yeah. See, it's a different quality altogether. 100%.
Yeah, I'd much rather listen to that relaxed and free and easy. You know, it's funny, people just don't think about the voice and all the muscles and the ligaments and tendons surrounding it.
Yes.
They think about the things they can see. So like you said,
Yes.
stretching and reaching for your toes and, okay, I need to relax and ease into it and breathe into it. And then, but I'm going to tense up and force this. It's like, no, this is still part of your body. So,
Right. Right. And it causes damage if you don't. Like imagine, I actually don't even want to imagine, it's kind of cringe, but like imagine you trying to like force yourself to reach your toes, man. You're going to rip a muscle.
Right.
That's not, your hamstring's going to go nuts on you.
Yeah.
Like, not the best idea.
No.
So,
Yeah.
coaxing it, working with it, that's the way to go. Forcing it, not so much.
No, there's no part of your body where it's going to like that. So.
No.
All right. Well, if you guys have any questions that we did not answer, because these are just the ones that we've been given so far, leave a question in the comments or a comment in the comments or shoot us an email or find us on Articulate Studios. But probably in the comments, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll make another episode where we answer it, or maybe the entire episode will be based off of your question. So
yeah, Q&A. I think that'd be great.
Oh God, I can't wait. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Bye.
The Voice Boxes Podcast, all about vocal health and hot topics. You got questions? They got answers. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, may a healthy voice be with you.